There's a lot of talk about the so-called super savers in the media. I see stories from the news here on YouTube. I read about it in the newspaper. The super savers who are cutting everything out of their budgets, throwing all their money at debt, throwing all their money into savings and hoping to retire early. I'm going to tell you why I think that's a really bad idea in this video. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and the idea of retiring early seems really sexy, especially retiring in your 30s. There was a story on TV about a guy who retired at age 27, and he lives off of his dividends and the money that he saved. In fact, I even made a video here on YouTube where I talked about the best way to retire early and to retire wealthy. And the simple advice was put more money in the account. Statistically, that is what has been shown to allow people to retire earlier, retire wealthier, is just invest more money. And so here's what a lot of people are doing. Here's what the media has latched onto in this super savers phenomenon, is saying, don't go to Starbucks. Don't buy anything extra. Don't get the extra guacamole at Chipotle. Don't pay the extra 99 cents. That's how you're going to retire early, is by saving. By not getting that $4 cup of coffee, you're going to save that money. It's going to be an extra $1,000 a year. That money can go to paying off your debt and then going into savings. Now, that may be good advice for employees if you have a fixed salary, especially if you're in a country like the United States, somewhere in the West, where wages have been stagnant. You look at adjusted for inflation, wages in the United States are not looking good in my lifetime. And so if you make $50,000 a year, and that's not going to go up very much, it's not going to keep pace with inflation, then the idea of finding whatever savings you can could be helpful. But the reason that so many people, I believe, are becoming entrepreneurs is because they want out of a system where they have to play with this amount of money that's not growing. People want to start a business. They want to do remote work. They want to do consulting. They want to find a way to start an online business or do whatever they can to control their income, because the country that they place so much of their trust in, the country that worked for their parents and grandparents to constantly create wealth, has failed them. That's why so many people in the West are driving Uber or doing their TaskRabbit or whatever else is available these days. And what I've seen from some new entrepreneurs is this idea that, hey, I'm going to keep that employee mindset of not buying Starbucks. Listen, as someone who started a first business at 19 years old, I understand the idea of putting everything you've got into the business. You have to scrimp and save and sacrifice for a while. But once that business is rolling, I'm seeing people saying, oh, I'm living the super saver mindset so I can put my money into a retirement account, often a government retirement account that restricts you taking the money out. You can't even use that money for your business without paying a substantial penalty. And I don't really understand why people do that. What I think as an entrepreneur is that if you're a 6 or 7 figure entrepreneur, the goal is not how do I reduce my expenses on little things. The goal is twofold. Number one, how do I increase the amount of money that I'm making? So many entrepreneurs I meet aren't charging enough. I met a girl recently who does web development. She's more of a freelancer. She's charging so little for websites. I said, you could triple the price and people would still buy it. I said, in fact, I wouldn't really trust, if I didn't know you, I said, I wouldn't really trust what you're doing. I wouldn't take it seriously. I wouldn't think that you were as good at what you do as you are. And so I said, you need to raise your price. That's the power. She didn't have that power when she worked at a job doing web development. Now she's a freelancer. She needs to raise the price. She needs to bring in more money. She needs to take more jobs or start hiring people and subbing out. And I think a lot of people who become entrepreneurs miss out on that, because if you quit the 9-to-5 grind, if you're doing this digital nomad thing and you've bought into the ideas of minimalism and living small, and those are great, living beneath your means, love that, grew up with that, I think it's fantastic. But the mindset of an employee is different than the mindset of an entrepreneur. And if your idea as the entrepreneur is still, how do I cut out Starbucks? That's my success secret. It's not going to work. But here's the other piece. A lot of entrepreneurs who are working for themselves, and the biggest trend now in entrepreneurship is, remote work. So in the case of this girl who's my friend, web development. You can do web development from Malaysia, from Tajikistan, from Colombia, from wherever you want. Probably not Tajikistan. You probably don't want to go there. But you don't have to sit in Canada and do your web development. You can go anywhere. And what happens when you no longer sit in Canada? Well, perhaps you can decrease the amount of money that you're sending to the government from 40% to 5 or 6 or 7 or 8% over here. And you can do that legally. The piece that interests me the most when people say cut out Starbucks, that's the financial guru's great advice, is cut out Starbucks. Never does anybody say, am I getting a good deal? Right? If you make $30,000, you're probably getting a great deal living in the United States, living in Germany, living in wherever Western country you live in. If that's what your goal is, that's fine. But, are you getting a good deal when you make $250,000 and $100,000 of that goes to the IRS, the CRA, HMRC, ATO, whomever your tax authority is? Are we jumping over little costs? Are we stepping over dollars to pick up pennies? Are we ignoring the biggest wins of saying, I'm an entrepreneur, I can work wherever I want, I can do business wherever I want, I can go where I'm treated best? That to me is the big savings. $1,000 a year in Starbucks versus $100,000 a year for a place that gets cold in the winter. To me, it just doesn't make sense. And I want, as someone who's been running a business my entire life, to speak to entrepreneurs and say, you have to get out of the cubicle mindset. So many people I see in Southeast Asia and on the road, and I travel, they still are trying to apply that 9-to-5 mentality to entrepreneurship, when the idea of entrepreneurship is sacrificing temporarily to grow and to create wealth, rather than saving and scrimping your way to wealth and never enjoying what you've created. To me, those are the things that you need to be focused on a lot more. Focused on the big wins, focused on knowing your value, and focused on going where you're treated best. I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you're looking for a way to legally reduce your taxes, build your freedom, and create wealth faster as a global citizen, then you've come to the right place. I want you to do 3 things right now. Number 1, click the button to subscribe to our channel. Make sure to get notifications so you never miss a new video. Number 2, get a copy of our #1 best-selling book, Nomad Capitalist, on Amazon, and learn all the dozens of benefits of our lifestyle. And number 3, if you're already a 6 or 7-figure entrepreneur and you want to put these strategies in place, go to nomadcapitalist.com and find out how to get some help.